Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining us live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a court case where I attended. So I actually went into the court to watch the goings on of a domestic violence case. So I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. I just want to sort of set some context here. As I was looking for pictures, like thumbnail pictures for this video, there are, gazillions of pictures. Domestic violence is seen as the frontline battleground of gender warfare, gender politics. There are screaming armies of feminist lesbians, gender studies, lesbians who are, actively promoting, hysterically promoting its crisis beyond crisis, and using very creatively contrived statistics to make their case. But as far as they see, this is it. This is the front line of the gender power struggle, the social power struggle. And so they invest vast amounts of ideological and doctrinaire type time into it. So as I was going through the photos, certainly the ones that I got to see, 4% featured non-white males. So that's depicted and presented, interestingly, as a problem that really only exists in white societies. So the incredibly violent black societies and Arabic Africa and the India and Pakistan, those incredibly violent societies, violent towards women. No. The issue is purely a white man issue. It's those evil white Christian fascist Nazi. They are the ones. They are the ones who are doing them and only them. So very, very few pictures outside of that. Now, statistically, white men, the reverse, the reality is actually an almost exact reverse. In reality, it's white men committing about 5% of the violence against women issues, 95% by non-white people or by lesbians or gay people to each other, that sort of thing. So straight white males constitute, but that is the only focus. Interestingly, this is the same focus whether the far right, the Nazis, Christian fundamentalist Nazi. It's always the straight white people that appear to be, but only through contrived and invented and bullshitted up statistics. So clearly, that's the target of the globalists. The globalists see the biggest threat to globalist power. Total globalist power is straight white males. That's why they're demonized and targeted at every turn. Now, coming back to the court case, the guy is not without means and capability, financial capability, and he's got a sufficient amount of assets sort of separated off in company names and so on, so they can't sort of just freeze his assets and go after his money. Which is what they would do to try and limit or neutralize his ability to fight back, because the state is only big and tough if they can come after you and stop you from fighting back, or you have no means to fight back. Then they're big and tough, but not so much outside of that. Now it went through a series of sort of twists and turns. Remember, he can afford some pretty good legal representative, with very few people can, but he could. So, and the efforts to intimidate and humiliate and undermine also don't work if someone's got money and assets. For example, she can call up the police and say, I want you to throw him out of the house for 2 days, 48 hours. That's one of the little things. This will to protect women from evil men. So throw him out for, well, what's he done? I don't know. I'll think of something by the time you get here. Well, it doesn't matter whether he's done anything or not. If you want him gone, he's gone. And it's really that sort of simple. Now, if it's a guy who doesn't own another house or he's got nowhere else to go or something, what does he do? He's out on the street for 48 hours. His problem. That's it. And the wife or the girlfriend or the partner, whatever, she's got the house could even be his, but that doesn't matter. So he's out on the street. So he's got to sort of think of people he knows, friends of his, whatever, who'll let him stay the night and this sort of thing. Or he's got to go and get a hotel. If he's not a guy with a bit of money, then he maybe a hotel is beyond his means for the night, but he's got to feed himself and find accommodation and so on. He can't just go to like a men's shelter or something for a free night, because they're going to demand that he must be receiving some sort of government benefit. And anyway, he's a violent, evil Nazi male. So why would they want him in there? I mean, so he's got to hope that some friends will put him up and so on. Now the friends will probably be single, because if it's a married friend, the woman is the wife of the guys. And oh no, we're a violent male. Ooh. So he's got to only go to single male friends. He's got to hope he's got some in the. No good if they're in another city or miles away. They need to be. Now, if they've only got one car, the police won't let him take the car either. So he's got to. Hey, too bad, buddy. You find some public transport. You get out of here. So he's out of the house. He's got no transport. Maybe she's already frozen his bank account or changed the password. Like say it's a joint account or something. Maybe he's got it. Other than the cash in his pocket, he may have nothing. But anyway, this particular guy is not in that situation. He has got money, and he's got like an apartment not far away that they keep, like it's an artist studio or something like that, and so he can go there. So he's not really, and he's got money in businesses, so there's not much she can actually do to him, and this annoys her because she wants to deliver the kill shot to him. She wants to show him who's boss, and of course she can't deliver the kill shots because of the finances he's got, and again this separate apartment. Anyway, the prosecutors decide they're going to gin up, probably mistakenly decide they're going to gin up the case against him. Now it's all ideological and invented, and hearsay, and Billy Jean said to Billy Bob that Jimmy Jack said that so and so said that so and so said that so and so overheard, and it's that type of stuff. So it's not going to stand up to any scrutiny. It doesn't matter. The whole idea of the thing is to intimidate and to just to stick it up, and he's straight white male. We're going to show you who's in charge. This is about social power, and we're going to fight to the death over it. So it's very ideological. A lot of very doctrinaire lawyers, punk ass kids who've come out of law school who've been indoctrinated in this insane nonsense, but they believe it's a fight to the death, gender power and all this sort of crap. Anyway, it gets into court. Now, the guy's got a pretty good lawyer, and the lawyer has decided to subpoena, demand that they have to come to court under threat of contempt of court charges. They have to come to court to be cross-examined and answer questions in the witness box and all that sort of stuff. So, and this is where the story picks up, where I'm sort of sitting in the court watching all this, and there's a public gallery. In fact, I'm the only one in the public gallery. You wouldn't call it an exciting case necessarily, but if you wanted to examine the ideology sort of underwriting this gender warfare crap, then it was a good sort of illustration of what goes on. Now, it's in a criminal court now, and this guy can actually go to prison if the case is against him. So there's quite a bit in it, and I think this overreach was probably a mistake. If they kept it in some ideological little boutique court, they probably could have got him guilty. He'd have paid a fine, been on some sort of good behaviour bond, or maybe a bit of community service or something, and that would have been terrible enough in itself, an outrageous perversion of justice. But it would have been pretty low level. But they ginned it up and they maxed it up and juiced it up so that it went into a criminal court, and now the guy can go to prison if the findings are against him. But now it moves into a different area of law. Now in the criminal court, or in this particular one anyway, now this is facts and evidence matter, not ideology. Ideology will have something to do with it, but facts and evidence matter. And once you start stating a fact, then it can be cross-examined. If it's ideological, in my opinion, Billy Bob might be radicalized, possibly by Hitler and by swastikas, that sort of thing. So you haven't said that he is radical. You said he might be. In my opinion, he could be. Then in an ideological court, the judge can say, oh, well, that's good enough for me. he is Hitler. And so ideologically, they start with opinions and could be maybe, and then the judge can say, well, I accept that opinion, and then the opinion becomes fact through the activist judge and through the particular ideological bent of the court. But in actual criminal court, not all, by the way, even that's changing now, activists being stacked into there. But in a criminal court, it's a little bit different because you can't make a statement and then just wave it away as, it was only an opinion. No. You said Billy Bob was a fascist Nazi, Hitler, swastika. So let's now examine that. Let's examine those facts you've made. So you have based your arrest or based your charges or based whatever on these stated facts. And these are now evidence in a court of law. And we're going to go through that. And you will sit in a fucking witness box and you will be cross-examined on this under threat of perjury if you tell lies in the witness box. So anyway, this now changes the landscape. Suddenly the power has now changed. The ideological power has been severely reduced in the overall scheme of things. It's no longer a bit of doctrinaire fanaticism. Now the facts matter. This is where I picked it up. So I'm in the court here. I needed to give that background so I understand. So the police officers that attended the house and that arrested or dragged him away, I think later on arrested him in a separate incident. So the lawyer begins. So, I think it was Sergeant was the first guy. So Sergeant Smith, or whatever his name was. So Sergeant Smith, you arrested Mr. Jones based on what evidence? Now, straight away, Sergeant Smith begins to stutter. Oh, well, the Mrs. Jones said that she'd been threatened and that he had violently assaulted her. Right. Okay. So, all right. Did you verify that? Did Mrs. Jones show any signs of trauma or any injury? Was there anything that you believed was? Oh well, we didn't really check on that. Could you repeat that could you face the judge when you say that? You didn't verify any of the claims made by Mrs. Jones. Have I got that right, Sergeant? Now, Sergeant's looking at the floor. He's blushing. He realizes he is fucked, and so he's just arrested an innocent man based on some hearsay say-so. There's no evidence to support it. Was there any evidence? Was there any other evidence, Sergeant Smith, that you relied upon to arrest my client? We just thought maybe I'd attended a training seminar that said all men are violent, oppressor, Nazi, fascist, Hitler, swastika waving at Sergeant Smith. I come back to the question: what evidence did you use? So there was no evidence. Then there's now Constable such and such. Did you, Officer so and so? Did you? I understand that you put my client in handcuffs. Is that so? Well, we believed that based on what Mrs. Jones had said, that there was a possibility of violence, and we thought we should restrain Mr. Jones in case maybe he could be possibly violent, maybe because Mrs. Jones said maybe could be possibly. Was there any evidence that Mr. Jones had been violent? Yeah. So why did you put my client in handcuffs? Well, I don't. And the officer, who's not a very bright dude, by the way, who's got no idea. He doesn't know what to fucking say. And and I understand that you stood my client in the front yard, front garden, next to the police vehicle, in full view of his neighbours and the people in the street. Did you realise the humiliation? Oh well, we thought, given that he was guilty of what, officer? Well, Mrs. Jones said. What evidence did you have? Well, none. But and you watch them squirm and duck and bob and weave, and I'll spare you the rest of the details because it went on for a while. But the bottom line is they arrested him twice, thrown him out of the house once, and then arrested him twice without any evidence. No evidence, none, not a single fact, just an allegation that even then couldn't be verified. And it's very clear their default position is that in the event that even there's the slightest whiff of a gender conflict, it's him. He did it. He is the problem. He is the one that must be accountable. He is the one that must be punished. But what if she's telling lies, making it all up? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. So watching them get cross-examined and watching them go down like, one sack of shit after another, it's very clear that they were operating along ideological lines. The evidence doesn't matter. Ideologically, this is the situation, and that's their default position. But watching this lawyer go after them, and the lawyer didn't hold back, by the way. He wasn't frightened to beat them up, as in metaphorically, in the witness box. He wasn't frightened to really hold them accountable and expose the. And he kept so Sergeant Smith, you have admitted to, you filled out a report saying that, I have your report here, Sergeant Smith, signed by you. Is this your report, Sergeant Smith? Could you verify this is your report? Could you verify this is your signature? Sergeant Smith is now locked, and you can tell Sergeant Smith is going, oh, fuck. So you have said in this report that Mr. Jones has committed, your words here, horrific, your word, horrific violence against Mrs. Jones. Do you accept that, Sergeant Smith? And based on what evidence do you have that? You've already said you have no evidence of it. You have none. How can you say you have committed perjury in this report, Sergeant Smith? Do you understand the severity, and so on and so on? And he kicked the crap out of Sergeant Smith and his flunky officers as well. So, but it illustrates to my mind, at the very least, it illustrates firstly, the ideology of it all. Also, the law enforcement authorities are taking a default position. If she says he did it, he did it. Is there any evidence? Well, no. Is there any proof? No. But who gives a fuck? We're operating along ideological lines here. Now, on the other side of this, the feminist argument is, and the politicians trying to court the feminist vote will say, well, okay, sure, there isn't any evidence, but he might be violent. How do we know that he won't be? So this idea that the guy might somehow just suddenly become violent by what? How? He might. Does he have any history of violence or any criminal? No. But he might be. How do we know that he won't be? So given that uncertainty, then we should remove him from the house or arrest him, because he maybe might be. Fuck, are you kidding? So let's apply that argument now for the police. Well, the police maybe, could be, might be are going to shoot him. He maybe, could be, might be. So the police shouldn't come over in case they maybe, could be, might be. No, that's insane. That's absolute insanity. Now, they use that reasoning in the divorce courts. Well, we have to keep the father away from the child or the children because the father might become violent to the children. Well, what evidence do you have for that? Well, none. Well, has he ever been violent? Well, no. Well, on what basis? Well, he might be. He might be. So it's protecting the children by keeping them away from, or keeping the father away, because he might be violent for a reason that we might dream up and imagine. No. So this is the danger, of course, of ideology creeping in. Well, there was a case, Your Honour, last year where a guy murdered his wife, and so we have to all be aware to protect women. We must make sure all men are guilty. Whoa, stop. You're going down the ideological path again. Do you have facts that Mr. Jones was, and if you don't have those facts, if you don't have evidence, then no, I'm not going to go along with that. But when you have activist judges being inserted everywhere, which you do these days, and you see, but this was a masterclass. I think every law student in the Western world should have been watching this case here, because the police case just fell apart. Every report they'd filed, every reason for arresting Mr. Jones and treating him so outrageously, handcuffing him and leaving him standing in the street where all the neighbours can see. This sort of thing was deliberate and willful humiliation of an innocent man. And so the sergeant who got a particular kicking because he filed the reports for his perjury and his lies. I sort of felt sorry for the guy. I don't think he was somebody consumed with malice against Mr. Jones. I don't think that. I think what happened was he so caught up in ideology. He actually made an admission in the while he was being cross-examined. He said, if I file a report saying the man is guilty, no one will ask any questions. I mean, I'm paraphrasing it, saying if I file a report saying the man is guilty in like this domestic dispute, nobody will ask questions. If I file a report saying the woman is guilty or the man is not guilty, then I will have all sorts of people asking me questions. I'll have to file supplementary reports. I'll be getting calls from the Women's Support Service saying that I'm a misogynist or something. I don't need that aggravation. But if I say the man is guilty, even if there's no evidence, then no one's going to query me. The report will go in, that'll be the end of it, and I've got no further aggravation. So there's a huge ideological administrative sort of unit within the police and government that can't accept the idea. No, you're not allowed to say that the man's innocent. You're not allowed to say that she's guilty. And if you do, then we're going to make your life as miserable as fuck. And he effectively said that. And to me, that was a huge admission to make, because it's a process that effectively guarantees the corruption and subversion of what should be due legal process. Anyway, the guy was exonerated of all of this, but there was no penalties for the woman. The woman said, we're going to sue you or the police going after her for filing false claims or making false allegations and this sort of thing, because they gave her a form to fill out saying he's a brutal oppressor and sign here, and she does. So that is perjury. That is perjury, and I think she should have been held accountable for that. But anyway, she gets off. There was one instance where he was in the garden doing something, and she this is in winter, by the way, and she tips a bucket. She comes up behind him and tips a bucket of water over him. Then she runs to the phone, calls the police, and goes, I think he's going to assault me. Now she's engaged in quite substantial provocation here. Why would you tip a bucket of ice cold water over someone in the middle of winter? This is not why would anybody do that? But she's done that only so she can claim victimhood. Well, now I've provoked him. He may be violent. Now I've provoked him. But hold on, what about the provocation? Doesn't matter. He might be violent, so we just have to arrest him because he might be. And this demonstrates, I believe, the insanity of the government and the law trying to get involved in gender issues. Now, the more the government gets involved to supposedly protect women, the more inclined women are to be provocative and to seek out conflict, knowing that if they don't prevail in the conflict or get their own way or shake him down for money, knowing that they can just simply pick up the phone and call the police. Well, if you won't give me what I want, I'll just get these other men to come and beat you up. So there. I mean, how girly is that, for goodness sakes? But this is the thing, watching that cross-examination and how quickly the police went down, they just went down like a sack of shit. And their perjury, their sloppiness too, again, the sloppiness comes from that if we accuse, whatever we accuse him of, we can get away with. But as long as we don't accuse her of anything or say that he's innocent, then we can get away with it. So we can do whatever we want to him and get away with it. But no, you can't when the guy's got money. And when he's got money, his lawyers will come after you. And then you're in trouble. But that's unfortunately all too rare. So, and again, there was no penalty for the woman here. The guy was fully exonerated and walked out, and that's it. And, the sergeant made a pathetic apology. Oh, we're sorry that we got it wrong. We mean you're sorry you got it wrong. Fuck off. But this is the state of things, and this is how these court cases, again, assuming the guy's got the money, how they unfold. You've been fantastic today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.